go.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Philosophy of Art and Science podcast. As always, if you want to support, you can support directly by joining the YouTube channel. There are various levels: $1, $5, and $25 a month. You could head over to patreon.com/Tawado, or you could sign up for the newsletter at aksum.substack.com. Today, I have with us our very first guest who's returned, Deacon Zéna Bluy. Last time we had kind of a general discussion of cars. He's somewhat of a car specialist, a micro-entrepreneur, a mechanic, an engineer, a used car salesman, a gardener, a super deacon, among other things.
A sinner.
A sinner. Never forget a sinner. A chief among sinners.
Yes, yes.
So, anyway, today, speaking of sin, thou shalt not steal is what the good book says. However, there have been a lot of thieves lately, and I was hoping you could tell us what type of thievery has been taking place here in Southern California and Los Angeles, increasingly during this pandemic. And later we can get into perhaps working out some solutions to it. But just begin with what is being stolen and talk about the nature of the phenomena, because we've been seeing this a lot lately.
Well, yeah, you're right. But not only in California, Los Angeles, but all over the U.S., they have been stealing catalytic converters, catalytic. So there are a few things, you can do to keep your car from being stolen.
Well, let's start with what is a catalytic converter. That's hard to pronounce, let alone to understand.
Yeah, there are some pronunciations that go with that, catalysis, but some people call it cat, which is easier. My cat is not working, or I need to change my cat. So what a catalytic converter does is pretty much starts from the engine. Air and gas mixture with a little bit of spark, ignites, and that will make your pistons move up and down, which makes you, helps you rotate the car, helps the engine rotate as well. When that happens, there's a gas that would, pollutant gas that would go through the exhaust system. And if that gas is not breaking down into to different chemicals, what's going to happen is it's going to pollute the air that we breathe in. A lot of times when I went to Ethiopia or Honduras, where they don't have a lot of smog, protection, you see a black smoke coming out of the car because of maybe their catalytic converter is broken, or they don't even have one. Some cars don't even have one in Ethiopia.
And there's no regulatory force, or there's no one actively enforcing the smog checks that would check for that. So now you're talking about not just like an individual problem, but kind of a communal or societal problem that contributes to harder breathing for everyone.
Yeah. I don't think they have those type of regulations in Ethiopia, at least not yet. With what Abiy is pushing, maybe one day they might have one. So anyways, this pollutant gas will go down the exhaust system, and the first thing that will hit is a catalytic converter. So the catalytic converter has two reaction parts. One is a reduction, it will take oxygen, and the second reaction is a oxidation, will add oxygen. So for example, nitrate oxide will come in through the exhaust pipe, and the reduction part will break the nitrogen and oxygen. And also carbon monoxide will come through the exhaust pipe, and the oxidation part will add oxygen to that, turning the carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide. And so at the end of the pipe, you'll see a steam coming out. That's nitrate, carbon dioxide, and oxygen turned into steam. If we didn't have the catalytic converter, we'll just have a black smoke again coming out of that system. So pretty much, just like the name catalytic, what it does is it breaks down the chemicals. That's all it does. It's like a chemical reaction chamber that would break down those chemicals into a different part of it. Will speed up the process. So those chemicals will be broken down when they exit the pipe, the exhaust pipe, the tailpipe. So that's what the catalytic converter does.
So why would anyone want to steal that? Like, is it that their cat is broken and so they're trying to replace it, but they're poor, can't afford it, and is it a crime of poverty or is it a crime of greed?
It's all of the above, because yes, poverty. They want money. They want, they're thieves, and that's how they make their money. But one of the main reasons they steal it is because there's a precious metal inside a catalytic converter that would help break down those chemical, speed up the process of those chemical breakdowns. So that precious,
like gold, silver, or platinum, or what?
The precious metal, I forgot the name, but it's more precious than gold, actually.
Oh.
So from one car, a thief might get about $200 to $300. So
regardless of the style, be it a sedan, an SUV, a hot rod, or whatever.
No, there are some cars they really focus on. For example, if you have a Honda Accord, if you have Honda Odyssey, if you have Prius, Toyota Prius, those cars particularly are targeted because of the precious metal they have inside the catalytic converter.
So the Asian models?
The Asian models.
Especially the Japanese?
Yes. If you have, it's better to go and check online if your car is a target for this catalytic converter thefts. If it is, then I would suggest you go to your local mechanic and tell them that you want your catalytic converter to be protected. They have what they call cat straps, or they will weld a metal, which we've done here, along the pipeline of the exhaust system. So they can do a lot of things. So it's better to pay $200 to $300 and protect your cat, because if they steal your catalytic converter, they're gonna cut it in a way that's gonna cost you up to $1,500 or $2,500 dollars. So it's better to pay that extra $300 now than to pay $2,500.
So when people go to the mechanic, a lot of times there are prices that end up, if you itemized what you're paying for, the two kind of big things that people pay for are parts and labor. Now, when you say we, some of the people might not understand what it is you're talking about, but basically you've cut out the middleman of the mechanic, I think, in most cases, and you try to do a lot of work on your own as kind of, like I said, a micro-entrepreneurial mechanic, which I'm a huge fan of micro-entrepreneurship, micro-businesses in general. I myself am a micro-entrepreneur through this podcast, through my newsletter, through my mediation services, through my translation and interpretation services for documents and for verbal. So I appreciate the field. Can you talk out a little bit what exactly you're capable of doing as an individual versus what would you actually need to go to a shop for? And, can the average person do it, or is it, is Zéna some sort of unique being that is able to stop outsourcing and losing money otherwise, where a lot of that money would have gone to labor? You are putting your time and energy into it to take care of this, like the cat strap. You're saying you did the cat straps yourself?
I did the welding myself. The cat straps, I didn't go that route because I can do the welding. But the cat straps are a bit less expensive, which is also an option. A lot of people on the internet, they do cat straps. If you have like a welding tank, or if you have the space to weld or the time to do it, yeah, go for it, do it yourself. Why not? But if, most people, maybe they don't have the time or the resources, so they go to a mechanic. But if you can do it yourself, there's a lot of lessons on YouTube that would, you can see from YouTube and practice on your own, and YouTube will guide you, or there are books, if you get the books that can guide you, it will be better as well. If you don't have those resources, go to a mechanic that you trust and get those things done as soon as possible if your car is one of the targeted, like has a price tag on your cat.
How often do you decide, like if you're looking at an issue with your car, whatever it is, something as mundane as putting air in the tires, which, a lot of people do at gas stations, or something like a regular oil change, or something like this theft of the catalytic converter. How do you decide when do you go to the mechanic versus when do you do it yourself?
Well, since I have most of the tools and I have this place and resources, I do everything myself. I've been doing it for over 7-8 years now. For me, it's like, okay, it's time to change an oil. I'll make a schedule. Like I'll do it on Tuesday or in 2-3 days, and I do it. That's how I do it because I have the resources and the place. Thank God for that, and Virgin Mary.
And were there any like major damage or missteps that you did by doing it yourself as opposed to, maybe a more established professional? Obviously you're a professional too on a micro level, like we said, but has it been all upside, or is it all alga ba alga, as we say in Amharic? Is it all mattresses upon mattresses, everything easy going, everything's easy peasy? Or have you run into any hiccups, whether it's with this welding process or any other processes?
Nothing is alga ba alga in anything I've done. I don't know what alga ba alga ever happened to anybody. Always there's, you fall from the alga, right? So, no, my first oil change, actually, I bolted when I, put the bolt back, I did it the wrong way, so it was sideways. So when I turned the engine on, because of the pressure, all the oil I put in just came out of the bottom, and
Yara burha.
Yeah. And I had to clean up, and I did it when I was living in an apartment, so I had to talk with the apartment manager, and it was a problem. But I didn't stop there. I kept going. So
did they tell you can't do work there anymore?
Yeah, they did. So I had to go find myself, behind the library, and behind the library, and
Qatil.
How you doing?
Qatil.
Behind the library, and any place I can find myself a little piece or space, I'll raise where I can raise the car up. But I have the love for it, so it didn't matter for me like if I made a mistake. And I was tired of some mechanics cheating me out of my own money. I know it was a simple job, and they'll trick me. I know there are a lot of honest mechanics, and there are twice as much dishonest mechanics, and I happen to run a lot with those type of mechanics. So I decided to do it myself, again, there are a lot of hiccups here and there with the welding. It's always good to plan or measure twice before you cut once. So now I've learned to recheck and check and plan ahead a lot of times. When I do those things, the hiccups will go down very, very, not as much of hiccups as you would, if you didn't plan. So planning will make things a lot easier for you, and it will save you time, and it will save you a lot of money. So, please plan ahead, and if you, with anything, the best plan will let you have the alga balga experience.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It seems to be maybe a part of the character of Sinner Zéna is to seek out alternative solutions on your own, as opposed to just relying on the normal institutions that maybe the masses would go for. In a sense, it makes you elite in a certain way. And I know in at least one other category that I could think of, potentially 2 or 3 other categories, you do this. So when you're doing this, talk to us a little bit how you made this decision, in the hair cutting space as well. In the hair cutting space as well. How did you do this?
With the cutting my hair is pretty much a new type of thing I've picked up now that we have the coronavirus, and the coronavirus gave me time to do that because a lot of shops were closed, so it gave me the opportunity to start cutting my hair. And actually, maybe I've been thinking to open my own hair shop. Maybe
half barbershop, half mechanic.
Yeah. I'll do your hair while I change your oil. That's pretty much my future plan.
That's good. And were there any hiccups there, or did you bring any sort of the same mentality of, if there are any mistakes I make, I'll just fix it, and it's okay if it looks bad? Because it's one thing to have something aesthetically off about your car, but a lot of people are self-conscious about the way their hair looks. What if you mess up your hair when you're cutting your hair?
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I did care about my hair a lot. It has to be perfect, but now I don't. As I got older, I guess I really don't care like how I look, pretty much. So I rather save money than look good in a way. So somebody told me, one of my professors said, if you, instead of paying $20 a month for your hair, if you save that money for about 70 years or something, he did the calculations, you will save about $200,000.
Over how many years? That's a lot of years. That's got to be a lot of years.
I think he said 70 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that sounded good to me. I didn't do the calculation. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But that's what I heard. 200,000 sounds good. So every time I plan to go get my hair cut, I just put the $20 in a jar, and we'll see what happens in a couple of years and how much I save. And
and the location of the jar is undisclosed.
Yeah. No.
So, on this same line of thinking, of kind of independent thinking, being creative, making your own audibles, without getting into too much of the specifics, I know there was a time a number of years ago where a certain church was having an internal conflict, and the leaders kind of abandoned their sheep in that moment. And although you weren't necessarily meant to be their shepherd, you took on the mantle of shepherd and function of shepherd in a brief way. And there's a melody in the church that says, "O Lord, have mercy upon and forgive the archbishops, the patriarch, the archbishops, the bishops, the episcopate, the priests, the deacons, and indeed all Christian people." And I know you assembled a certain, by force, because the liturgy was going to be canceled, you assembled a form of, based on the liturgy of the temple as well, of the heavenly temple, the Psalms of David, your own sort of freestyle creative prayer. I see the same spirit in that activity, and so I think it would be remiss if I didn't at least invite you. You can either reject or accept my invitation. I hope you accept, to sing for the good people this melody that I just interpreted, Maro Muexio. And that would be a good way for us to close today.
Yeah, it's really sad, actually. I had to sing that song, or that particular part of the Gaddafi to a respected part of the church people. There's a saying, when the fire is gone, what's left is
the ashes.
The ashes. So I feel like our Orthodox Church has really is losing grip. Losing grip with a lot of the things. But then again, that's a different subject for a different time to. But I will sing Mahara Muzio. Yeah.
And since there's no microphone, we joke a lot that we'd like to be transported to the ancient past where we could do the liturgy without microphone.
Okay. Wait, did you want me to do it in Giz or is
your favorite? Whatever's your favorite.
Mahara Muzio. ሊቃነ ጳጳሳት ጳጳሳት ኤጲስቆጶሳት ቀሳውስት ወዲያቆናት ወኮ